Hey, peace and love, family. Welcome back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session. We're always glad to be here at 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. And finally, I'm back broadcasting from home, from my home office after traveling for a month to different places. So the last 3 weeks prior to this, been broadcasting from someplace out of town. And it's good to be back with you. For the first time in a month, I'll be able to actually see the comments as you're posting them. For the first time in the month, I'll actually be able to put your comments on the screen if you feel so inclined as to share them. But we're always happy to be here, as I said earlier, for the Sunday Hope and Healing sessions, where we can share love to you and extend that love to you in a way that will hopefully reach you in some way that is meaningful for you and that adds value to your life, that makes life on planet Earth, allows life on planet Earth to flow a little smoothly for you as a spiritual being navigating the challenges that come with endeavoring to live effectively with the constraints of a physical body in a 3D world. And so as our continuous endeavor is to find our way to enter into a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. That's what we're all about in these Sunday Hope and Healing sessions, about empowering us to be able to find our way to that, to operate in the highest and best versions of ourselves, to be able to maximize life on planet Earth. And that actually speaks to something I felt inspired to do, starting a new series, which it's embedded within today's topic, dealing with making the most out of the life and the body that you've been given. If I'm going to be just 100% transparent with you, I've been blessed with a body that I have not optimized or gotten the most out of. And I've also been blessed with a life that I've not completely optimized or extracted the most that I possibly can from it, or give the most I possibly can with my life. And so all of us, this is this is a worthwhile endeavor. You know, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your life has been looking like, your life is a blessing. The life that you have is a blessing to you. And I know that there may be some things that if you could, perhaps prefer for certain aspects of your life to look a little bit different. Maybe there are some circumstances that unfolded in your life that you would have rather not had happen to you. Maybe some trauma that you'd experienced, maybe some ways in which you were wanting and indeed needing love to show up for you, and it didn't necessarily show up in all of those ways, all of those times. There may have been some circumstances within your upbringing in terms of how some things were financially, or in terms of some areas of neglect. There may be health challenges that you may have been born with. For all of us, there are different things that we've all got our own various sets of circumstances and situations that our lives have been colored by or colored with, right? And yet there's also, no matter what your life has looked like, there's somebody else who would love to have your life. There's somebody else who would love for their life to look how your life looks. Greetings, Curly Conscious King. Good to see you, my brother. Peace and abundant blessings to you as well, and to all of us who are here today. And so I definitely want to encourage us, and I know I've mentioned this before. There was a time, Trisha C., I thought of you the other day. I hope that life is treating you well. I hope that life is treating you well. Good to see you in the space today. Um, I know that I mentioned before, there was during a time in my life, there were some considerable difficulties that were taking place in my life at that time. Or at least I experienced them as some difficult situations that I was dealing with. And Transforming Love Community, a ministry that's based out of Detroit, where I still speak sometimes. In fact, I'll be speaking there next Sunday on the topic of resist the temptation to lower your vibration. But it was there at TLC. This was when I was living in Detroit, and an assignment was given for everybody to write down 40 things a day that they felt grateful for. And so during this time, there was, again, a difficult time in my life. I wrote down 40 different things that I felt grateful for each day. Okay. And I didn't always do it at the same time of the day. I didn't always feel like doing it. Sometimes the day was busy. And, you know, I'm tired at the end of the day, but I hadn't finished my 40 things. Maybe in some cases I hadn't even started it. But thankfully, I was able to write down 40 things each and every day without missing a single day, 40 consecutive days. And I never wrote the same thing twice. At the end of that 40-day period, I wrote down 1,600 different things that I felt grateful for. And no matter where you are in your life, there are an abundance of things that you can celebrate. There are an abundance of things that you can be grateful for. I talk sometimes about the man who was walking around feeling sorry for himself because he had no shoes until he came across the brother that had no feet. There's always somebody who's worse off than you. There's always somebody who would love to be in your shoes. And the life that you have is an incredibly blessed life. Listen, not everybody is blessed to hear these kinds of things that you're blessed to be able to hear right now. Not everybody has access to a computer to be able to have these kinds of things placed into their listening. Not everybody has the exposure in life to what it is that you're blessed to be able to hear right now. I'm not saying this as a brag on me. I'm not saying this as a brag on me at all. However, I do realize that I am very, 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 very blessed to have been exposed to some of the things that I've been exposed to in my life that have really helped to make a huge difference in my life, and that I get to actually share that with you all so that it may hopefully be something that if you choose, you can take and implement in your own life. And beyond that, to be able to actually offer healing, to break down those barriers, to eliminate those hindrances and roadblocks that are standing between you and where it is that you ultimately desire to be and have a divine right to be. Okay. And so, you know, again, there's so much that we have in our lives that we can celebrate and be grateful for. And I can say from a place of authentic transparency that I know that I have not made the absolute most of the life that I've been blessed to have. And I think it's a possibility that there are some areas, even if you've done some amazing things, and I think I've done some pretty cool things with my life. But I believe that if you were to be honest with yourself, there's maybe some areas that you can tap into as well, that you can make even more of the life that you've been blessed with. In terms of this body has been on the earth for 54 years now, and it's holding up pretty well. It's holding up pretty well. I live in an apartment on the 5th floor. Although there's an elevator, I just carried my groceries up to the 5th floor. I'm thankful to be able to have the strength and the energy to be able to do that. I'm thankful for that. It's not something that everybody has that everybody can enjoy, but guess what? There's a whole lot more good that could come out of this body. There's ways in which I can be more loving to this body. Never again will I have this body. I believe that my soul has been in other bodies before, but never before has it been in this body, and never again shall it be in this body. So I want to make the most of this body. And so if you're here for this, then perhaps there's something that you would like to do to help enhance your ability to make the most of the life that you've been given. You know, our life is a gift that we've received. What we make of our life is the gift that we give, right? And so I know that, you know, we're still a couple months away, but we're moving towards the holiday season. And hopefully in that context, we're thinking about how we can show up for people that we care about that can add value in their lives. And that's not something you have to save until the holiday season. You know, the first ever Transcending the Matrix class took place September 26th, 27th, and 28th inside of the Embassy Suites in Southfield, Michigan. That Tuesday, September 23rd, 2003, was my 32nd birthday. And the way that I chose to honor my 32nd birthday was by renting a ballroom inside the Embassy Suites in Southfield, Michigan, and hosting a healing presentation and demonstration. And there were quite a few people that received healing in that, and some of them even end up showing up in the class, being in the class that weekend. But I got that idea from something that I had written. It was one of the books that wasn't actually included in the Bible. And it was talking about Jesus as a little boy. And like on his 7th birthday, people were coming in honor of his birthday. And his focus was on not what people were giving him, but how he could be a gift and what way he could bless people who were coming to honor his life. And so that served as an inspiration to me. And really, it still stays in my mind. This was decades ago that I read that. But we all have been profoundly blessed. And guess what? You've got even more blessings that are awaiting you. There are more blessings in store for you. Do you know that there are blessings that it's like, there are blessings that feel like, are you trying to hide from me? There are blessings that are wondering, why are you playing hide and go seek? And it's not that the blessings are hiding from you, but sometimes we're hiding from our blessings. There's good that's endeavoring to make its way towards us, and we somehow dodge it. We're bobbing and weaving it like we're in a fight with it, trying to not get hit by it. And there are blessings that are actively endeavoring to show up in our lives. And maybe there might be this way or that way that we might be as a function of the thought forms that we're putting out there, the vibrations that we're giving off, ways that we might sometimes subconsciously self-sabotage that is causing us to evade the blessings that are trying to make their way to us. But I know that if you're here for this session today, it's because even though there may be a part of you that might be trying to run away from the blessings that are seeking to track you down, you wouldn't be here if there wasn't at least some part of you that wanted to tap in to that good. If there wasn't some part of you that wanted to make even more of your life, more effectively optimize the body that you've been blessed to have. Pour into it in a way that it can pour back into you, goodness back into you. So we're going to actually be doing this as a series, this making the most of the life and the body you've been given. And we'll kind of deal with different topics around this. We're not going to do a like a 4 consecutive week type series, but I think we're going to start doing this once a month or so, something that's specifically tied to making the most of the life and the body that you've been given. And so if you've got some ideas of some things that you feel like would benefit you personally, or that you think other people could benefit from, feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to see that and take your queries into consideration. Okay. And I'm just curious for if anybody out there is feeling bold enough to say so. What are some areas, or what is an area in your life that you don't feel like you've actually made the best of it? That you don't feel like you've made the best of your life? On some level, we take certain things for granted. You know, I'll tell you one for me personally. There are books that have not been written. I can't blame anybody for that. I can only take responsibility for it. But I tell you what, I do believe that I have something to say that's worth people hearing, people that aren't going to tune into a Sunday Hope and Healing session, people that aren't going to make their way into a Transcending the Matrix class. Speaking of which, we have a Transcending the Matrix Level 2 class on mental and emotional healing, neurological upgrading, and brain optimization. They'll be taking place in a couple months. It'll be the second weekend in December via Zoom, December 13th and 14th. If you've not already done the Transcending the Matrix Level 1 training and initiation, you wouldn't be eligible to do the Level 2 training. But for those who have, you are certainly invited to sign up for the Level 2 training. If you've already done the Level 1 training, then you already know how to get in touch with me. So I don't need to put that information in. And for those of you who are interested in Level 1 training, we'll be providing Level 1 training coming up soon as well. But I do want to go ahead and kind of get going with some of the healing. Okay. We're going to get going with the healing, kind of lessening the strength of the things that are standing between you and you making the most of the life and the body that you've been given. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into the healing. I'm going to try to keep this under an hour. Now I said that, and then I hear the words of Master Yoda in my ear. There is no try, only do or do not. And so I take that way. I'm going to certainly endeavor to keep this under an hour today. But let's go ahead and get started with the prayer, and then we'll go into the healing. And I'm going to invite all of us to just get focused into a heart space, into a state where we're receptive to the healing that's going forth, where we are attuned to new possibilities for ourselves and for our lives, that we're tapped into a receptive state of allowing our body temples to be a channel for radiant life to flow through more abundantly, and where we allow our lives to be expressions of the divine that allow greater levels of potential to be manifested through our lives, greater good to unfold for us and through us. And as we enter into that state, that intention, focused in the feeling of love, allowing ourselves to love ourselves enough to be open and receptive to this, and allowing ourselves to be able to receive the love that we're so worthy of, even if we don't sometimes allow ourselves to know it. But God, I know you to be the source of all good, of every blessing that we have ever experienced. I know, God, that you work miracles, and that miracles are merely expressions of love. I know, God, you to be a healer, and that there's nothing beyond your healing ability. And I give great thanks that in this moment, you've blessed me with the privilege of being a vessel of your healing. On the behalf of, please state your name silently or out loud. For the purpose of neutralizing the self-sabotaging aspects and mechanisms within our consciousness and our lives, from the point of the root cause of every strand of DNA and every cell of our body, and from the entire energetic field of each and every one of us, and transmuting that into and replacing it with us completely maximizing the life that we've been given and the body that we've been given. And I bear witness to us operating at a whole new level of fulfillment and well-being and joy and wholeness. Yes, I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you so much, God, for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the healing, shall we? So let's get into something that came up even in the prayer, was the part of us that wants to self-sabotage. So let's address this internal saboteur. The internal saboteur, that is always whispering in our ear, in our subconscious ear, not even always where we're hearing it or paying conscious attention to it, but is always in one way or another saying, that's too good. That's too good for you. Saying that this is the best that you deserve. You don't deserve any better than that. These bad things have to happen to you because of the bad things that you've done to other people, the bad things that you've done to yourself. We want to nullify those voices. Excuse me. The aspect within our own consciousness that is the fulfillment of negative programming that we've allowed to take place within our own internal wiring. Okay. And speaking of internal wiring, we want to shut down those neural pathways that have us engaging in negative self-talk. And negative self-talk might not be something that you're doing out loud, but the things that you're saying to yourself about yourself, even in your thinking. My late grandmother, Ruth Thomason, was a truly angelic person. Awesome human being. You know, it took a special skill set to be in her presence and not be in a state of peace or happiness, because that's just the energy that she exuded. Like, you'd have to work really hard to be in a bad state in her presence because she just exuded a lot of positive, good energy. However, one thing that I can say about my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, is that she did sometimes beat up on herself. She had been the recipient of some negative things being said to her, unfortunately, where she had been used as a scapegoat before. And that kind of got in her head to a degree to where sometimes she would say negative things about herself. Um, and so I'm saying that to say that sometimes we have things that we hear, or we have areas where we start thinking in some ways negatively about ourselves. And so we might start engaging in some self-deprecation. All right, so I want to address that energy that's behind the self-deprecation. And I want to transmute that into us being able to see ourselves and see ourselves clearly. To be able to see and recognize those areas where there genuinely are areas where there is opportunity for growth. And strengthen us to be able to see that, to be able to assess ourselves honestly and with genuine integrity, to be authentic about where it is that we're inauthentic, to be able to see, where it is that we can do better. My favorite poem, a poem called If by Rudyard Kipling, says, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blame it on you. And then it follows up by saying, if you can trust yourself when it was written in patriarchal language, when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. Trust yourself when everybody else doubts you, but still at the same time, make allowance for the fact that they have some doubts and some of them may be legitimate. Okay. In other words, look honestly at yourself. Okay. Stand naked before the mirror of truth and yet be unashamed. So I want to strengthen us to not only be able to stand naked before the mirror of truth, but to be able to do so unashamedly, to be able to do so from a state of compassion and a state of peace and a state of genuine, authentic love, to be able to truly love ourselves, even in the areas where we might not show up quite as well as we might like to. Okay. And so let's take a look now. Let's take a look now at a proclivity for taking things for granted. Okay. It's difficult to take things for granted and be appreciative about the thing that you're taking for granted at the same time. Maybe impossible, right? And so let's shift that energy from taking things for granted to dwelling in a state of genuine, authentic, perpetual appreciation. Perpetual appreciation. I like that. In a month and some change, we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving every year is the first. This is actually how Thanksgiving was determined, when Thanksgiving Day is going to be on. It's the first Jupiter day with the sun in Jupiter's sign. Okay. To put that in plain English, it's the first Thursday, which is Jupiter's day. It's the first Thursday, and Jupiter is perceived as a planet of benevolence. It's the largest planet in our solar system, seen as a planet of benevolence, many, many, many times larger than our Earth. So Thanksgiving is always the first Thursday when the sun is in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius happens to be ruled by the planet Jupiter as well. Okay. And so they determined what better time to set apart for Thanksgiving than a time that is focused on expansion, okay, and benevolence, to expand the awareness of appreciation. Okay, so I'm kind of planting a seed now for that to be in your consciousness, for us to dwell in a state where we're continuously focused on expanding that which we are appreciative of, and expanding within our consciousness, within our minds and within our hearts, an attitude of gratitude. Let's strengthen us for that. Strengthening that attitude of gratitude. I heard a man named Philip Shobe say once This is when I was living in Indianapolis. He said, if you're thankful, that means you're not sinkable. If you're thankful, that means you're not sinkable. All right. So let's look at attuning our consciousness to Thanksgiving, attuning our consciousness to what's going well, attuning our consciousness to focus more on solutions than on problems. Well, let that breathe for a minute. Attuning our consciousness to focus more on solutions than on problems. Okay. Whatever the problem is, the solution already preceded it. The solution was already available before the problem even arose. And so I want to strengthen us to be able to have spiritual eyes to be able to discern what the solution is. There's some people who have a solution for every problem. And there's some people who have a problem for every solution. Okay, which one of those people do you want to be? Okay. It's just a matter of perspective. So let's strengthen. We closed down some neural pathways earlier, but let's open up some new neural pathways within the brain to where we will travel down mental roads, if you will, that lead us to joyful destinations and that are even a pleasant view along the way there. Okay. Strengthen. All right, so let's actually deeply ingrain new neural pathways within our brains to be able to identify things for which we can be very, very grateful, very appreciative, and also very loving towards ourselves. We need to particularly boost that up in terms of being very loving towards ourselves. As making the most of our lives is an expression of self-love and love for others. As making the most of our body is an expression of self-love and love of others. Okay, so strengthen us to be able to see new ways that we can incorporate better ways of being and better ways of doing in our life. Okay, well, strengthen us for that. Sometimes us making the most of our life has to do with what we choose to give our energy to. Sometimes we give our energy to things that take energy from us without giving really energy back to us. Sometimes we choose to give our energy, a lot of our energy and attention to folks that don't even appreciate us, and then we don't have the energy to give to people who do, right? Sometimes we had a conversation with a young man, he was younger than me anyway, who he commented, and he did it, kind of in a way that he seemed to feel a little bit proud of, almost ashamed and proud at the same time. It was interesting kind of dynamic going on. But he commented on how he likes to abuse his body. And he was referring to some lifestyle things. And so let's look at feeding our bodies that which can bring both pleasure to our bodies as well as satisfaction to our souls. There's nothing saying that you can't enjoy your body. Your body is beautiful. It was made by God. How it's able to do what it does. When was the last time you thought about making sure that blood got to all of the areas of your body? When was the last time you thought about the plasma in your blood extracting nutrients from your intestines and delivering that through your circulatory system to all of the cells in your body? Or that the water that you ingest allows, kind of a reverse osmosis, if you will, of extracting the waste material from the all of the cells of your body, from its process of breaking down the nutrients that you've taken in and created some level of oxidation in the process of burning calories, and that needs to be eliminated through your system. And so you're drinking in fluids actually allows the waste product, the I keep losing the word, the oxidation, to be removed through your body, through your lymphatic system and your digestive system, and even to come out through your breath, through the carbon dioxide that you're releasing, as well as the perspiration and the other ways that you might eliminate waste from your body. When was the last time you actually thought about those processes, right? And the depth of the intricacies that are taking place. The year before I graduated from college, there was a person, I won't say his name because I grew profoundly uncomfortable with some other choices he made subsequent to that. But there was a gentleman from my hometown who's a neurosurgeon and had performed some amazing surgeries, being able to separate conjoined twins who were conjoined at the head and allow them to have wonderfully successful lives. And then in this commencement speech, this neurosurgeon talked about, he broke down all of the complex things that have to happen within a person's body for them to just do this, for them to just raise their hand. Like, it's so easy to take all of that for granted, right? But let's strengthen again, I say your body is beautiful, no matter how many roles you might have, no matter where your hairline might have moved to, right? No matter what your teeth situation might be or what physical ailment you might have, you still have a wonderful and glorious body that does amazing things, for you, right? And it's designed to actually repair itself. How many of you have got a cut and it never stopped bleeding? Probably most of you have had a cut. Every single one of those cuts stopped bleeding at some point because of how divinely orchestrated the body is, right? All right, so anyway, I feel like I'm going off on too much of a tangent, rambling. Let's get back to the healing. All right. So to really dwell in a state of appreciation towards our bodies. Towards our bodies from a functional standpoint, appreciating how well our bodies function and all that our bodies have done for us. Think of all of the places your feet have taken you. I know someone who shattered their ankle and ended up being in a situation where it was hard for them to, very, very difficult for them to get around. If that's not your reality, is that something that you can take for granted? Is that something you can appreciate? Okay. All right, so let's look at truly valuing our bodies. What stands in the way of us truly valuing our bodies besides us taking it for granted? There's a lot of energy tied to us taking our bodies for granted. So what are some areas of our bodies that we take for granted? Let's start with the intestines. Okay. Sometimes it's easy to take for granted that we're able to do something as simple as have an elimination of waste. All right. Talk to somebody who can't do that. It's not a pleasant experience for them, whether it's fecal matter or urine backed up in their system. Can essentially make them feel like they've lost their mind, make other people feel like they've lost their mind. Okay. It's easy to take that we have the ability to move for granted. So we want to be able to strengthen our appreciation for that. Our ability to be able to taste our food, to strengthen our ability for that, our ability to be in a state of gratitude, deep gratitude and appreciation. To be able to appreciate our body's ability to reproduce cells. Okay. Every 7 years, you're a whole new body. It's amazing, right? All right. How many of us take our liver for granted? It's easy to do. When was the last time you thought about your liver? When was the last time you thanked it? Probably the only time you think about your liver is if you've got an issue with it. Right? Dwell in an state of appreciation towards all of the organs of your body, all of the systems of your body. All right. And to have such a love for your body that out of all that it's given to you, how much pleasure have you experienced in your body? I was having a conversation earlier about some greens. I don't know if you like greens or not. These particular greens that I had recently were some collard greens, but they weren't just collard greens. They were, pardon me for how I'm going to say that, but they were an orally orgasmic experience. I mean, my mouth had such a profound release of pleasure eating these greens. I can't even begin to describe it to you, right? How much pleasure have you been able to experience in your body? How much pleasure have you had listening to the laughter of children? That your body gave you the opportunity to experience that pleasure in your life. How much enjoyment and how much pleasure have you derived from being able to share in a hug with a loved one? Oh, there's so many wonderful things that your body has given you. Let's strengthen us to be able to give back to our body that have given so much to us. To give abundantly to our bodies goodness, just as it's given goodness to us. All right. And to be able to actively seek ways that we can bless our bodies, be good to it, make the most of the bodies that we've been given so they can last as long as possible, feeling as good as possible for as long as possible. All right. Okay. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for strengthening us in that regard. Okay. Okay. Now, let's look at the relationship between our minds and our bodies. Sometimes that relationship has been better than others, if we're to be honest about it. Sometimes we've been mad at our bodies Sometimes our bad bodies haven't been too happy with our mind either. Right? But let's work on harmonizing that relationship so that they can dwell in harmony and love and unity with one another. So they can both be working towards the common good of the whole beingness. Okay. All right. So let's establish a healthy relationship from the mind to the body, as well as the body to the mind. All right. Let's strengthen the relationship going from the body to the mind. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, I also want to take a moment to actually look at the relationship um, between the body, the mind, and the spirit. Okay. Now, let's strengthen that. Sometimes the body is resistant to the spirit, so we want to tone down that resistance. And we want to increase greater degree of love and appreciation of the body towards the spirit. Okay. So you can thrive in your spirit and your mind and in your body all at the same time. One doesn't have to suffer at the expense of another. Okay. All right. So, all right, that's looking much better. All right, now let's look at the relationship between your mind and your spirit. Okay. We want to strengthen that too. Thank you, God. All right. Okay, now let's take a look at okay. I want to take a look at FOMO, fear of missing out. So we want to address this fear of missing out that some of us might have. And really, there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about counting the cost. There's a concept in economics called opportunity cost. Okay. And what opportunity cost speaks to is really what you're giving up in a sense. Okay. In a world where we have choices, if we're making this choice over here, what is it costing us over here? That's essentially what opportunity cost is getting at in the context that I'm sharing it right now. And so there's an aspect of feeling of in terms of that fear of missing out, like we don't want to pay that cost of missing out. Okay. Or we don't want to pay that cost of sometimes of fitting in, of risking fitting in. Okay. Or maybe chasing somebody else's approval. Someone who may or may not have our actual best interest in mind and at heart with respect to that particular thing. Okay. All righty. While I'm thinking about it, Sunshine, if you are tuned in, there's something that you are going to be sending me. So I want to extend a reminder for you to send that to me. A link that you're sending. Okay. All right. Now let's look at our own willingness to really be free. Let's strengthen our willingness to be free and for us to be able to tap into the joy of real, true freedom. Okay. There's someone that I follow on YouTube that does movements that they're encouraging us to do, and this person maintains that you're not really free if you can't get up off the ground without using your hands to push up off of something. Like if we're making the most of our life in our body, we're giving it what it needs for the whole of us to be able to fully thrive. Okay. And maybe you're not in the point where you can do certain physical things, or where you're in the point where you can do certain mental things. However, wherever it is that you are in your life, you can make the best out of where your body is right now. And you can contribute towards its well-being. You can contribute to your life in ways that prove fruitful. Okay. All righty. All right. So it's 1:52 now. We're going to go ahead and get ready to close down. Let me just do some little cleanup work. Just generally looking at loves of the matrix and matrix grid lines. Let's address 52 million grid lines within the matrix, deleting those, transmuting those into building blocks of pure love and divine light. Okay. Incidents, Akashic records, universes, dimensions, times, judgments, and unknowns. We're going to transmute, purify, clear through the light of the Holy Spirit now, henceforth, and forevermore, for all generations of time, past, present, and future. The absolute, complete, permanent healing with infinite and immediate correct perception of wholeness. Strengthen us to forgive and forget unconditionally, and to display unconditional love towards ourselves and others. So God, thank you so much for the healing that's gone forth today. Thank you, God, that even though for each and every one of us, there are ways that we can make the most of life and the body that we've been given. Thank you for the healing that's taken place to help us to do that more effectively, to optimize our lives and our bodies from where it is that we are in this moment. Thank you so much for doing this as an expression of your love, and for every benefit each one of us has received as a result of this healing that's gone forth. Thank you so much for these and all other blessings. I affirm it is done. It is done. It is done. All right, beloved. Again, it's been a pleasure being here with you today. We'll be back next Sunday. And until we meet again, as always, I bid you adieu with peace and love. Catch you next time.